Welcome back to Real Lounge Entertainment. As always, I am Mike, and here I am, day 7 of 12 Days of Christmas Horrors. Now, on day 6, we brought you probably what will end up being my favorite movie that I watched for this countdown, and that was Anna and the Apocalypse. And how do we come after that one? Probably the worst one on the list. So make sure to give us a like, subscribe if you haven't, and let us know in the comments, what's the worst Christmas horror movie you've seen? Day 7 upon us, and with that, this brings us the movie Nightmare on 34th Street. Now, this movie is from 2023. It's rated MA, which, R, NC-17, one of those types. Has a runtime of 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I'm telling you right now, that is way too long for this movie. Way too long. And it's another movie that came from the British. Yes, this is the third one on this countdown already. 3 out of 7. And guess what? It's not going to be the last one either. There's one more coming. So this movie is an anthology horror movie containing 4 stories, all connected by Santa Claus telling all these stories to a boy named Peter laying in his bed waiting for Christmas. But before we get to that, let's look at this poster. Pretty decent poster, especially for such a low budget movie. But this isn't really what the movie looks like, and I'm starting to get really sick of movies doing this. If you want Santa holding a knife, use the Santa that you have in the movie. You shouldn't be able to just make some generic image and false advertise. Give me the real Santa, or don't do it. Do something else. I'm sick of it. Now, since I hated this movie so much, spoiler warning. I don't care if I say anything about this movie, but if you don't want to hear any spoilers, turn away now because I'm going to talk about it. So in this first movie, we have this family that have these intruders come in, and they kill the family and take the little girl, and they disappear. And this is a guy that's dressed like Santa, but has a messed up face. A guy that's dressed like a snowman kind of, and an elf. So 3 intruders, all in stupid costumes with bad makeup, and they come in, kill the family, take the girl. Then we have years later when new people live in the house and they hear the story of the little girl that lived there, and once again, the intruders are back. And this time, the girl is with them, and she's part of the group. And she calls him Mr. Red. So Mr. Red is Santa. And once again, they go on a killing spree. This time, she's part of it. They kill the cops, the family, and then they escape in their van. What's the point of this one? There is no point. It's just violence. And if you watch my review on Terrifier 3 or our podcast covering Terrifier 3, then you'll know the one thing that really gets to me that I really hate is when they show the violence against kids. And they do that in this first short. Yes, we see the violence. We see the aftermath. It's done in such bad taste, poor taste. This short is a 0 out of 5. 100% 0 out of 5. It's awful. Nothing redeeming about it, and I really hated this one. Santa moves on to the next story that he's telling Peter, and this one involves a second-generation ventriloquist and a snowman puppet that used to belong to his dad. And this is a very crappy-looking snowman puppet. Look at it. It's terrible, especially if he's supposed to be second-generation and carrying on the family legacy of ventriloquism and this puppet. Anyway, he has a much hotter, younger girlfriend who he really couldn't deserve, but she's secretly just using him for his money, like there's so much money in ventriloquism. And there's a second ventriloquist who stole his dad's show, so he also has a crappy-looking snowman puppet. This town, I guess, is big enough for 2 ventriloquists with snowman puppets. I don't know, but there's enough money for 2 of them? Doesn't make much sense. And we also keep getting all these flashbacks of his dad, who has all this white makeup, being really creepy, and some shots of a girl running in the woods being killed and stuff like that. And it turns out that his dad was a serial killer who was caught and killed. Did I mention he makes enough money to support a coke habit? Man, he must be in the big leagues in this small town with his ventriloquist snowman. Well, with the pressure of his girlfriend leaving him, his talks with his therapist, the second rival ventriloquist, and all his flashbacks of his dad he's envisioning being a serial killer, he kind of loses his mind. So him and Dr. White, that's the puppet's name, put on a white shirt, a reindeer mask, and go on a murder spree, killing basically everyone we saw in this movie. Basically everyone we saw in this short. Until he gets killed by a random prostitute that he invited over. This one is the longest, it's the most boring, but it's probably also, I guess, the highest quality. Maybe you get me to a 0.5 out of 5, but I really don't even want to give it that. But still, when we're talking about the other short stories, this one, I guess there's some artistic value in it, but not really. Now Santa brings us the third story from this anthology, and this one is supposed to be about Krampus, or at least that's what they tease. This one follows a mother and their 3 kids as she's struggling being single. She's drinking away her depression and has a very tight Christmas time where they can't afford that much food or presents. She also gets lots of conversation with her friends who try to support her through this rough time. But then we start kind of seeing a shadowy figure in the house creeping around, going past really fast. Is it Krampus? Let's look.
You made him leave. You ruined Christmas.
Shut up. That's what they're trying to push as Krampus. That is not Krampus any way, shape, or form. Come on. I'm just not accepting this. This is Krampus. Like, what is this crap? It looks more like the evil queen from Snow White than Krampus. This is just garbage.
Garbage day!
But it doesn't really matter anyway, because it's all in her head, and she ends up losing her mind and kills all 3 of her kids, and we get another shot of like the dead bodies in bed with her, and once again, very poor taste. What have I already said in this video? That's the one thing that just goes over the line for me. It's way too much. Such bad taste, 0 out of 5. F this one. This is the worst one out of the 4. Finally, Santa brings us the 4th and final short story in this, and this one involves an old retired priest who's basically just kind of just a vegetable at this point. He just sits there not talking, looking like And the new priest who comes into town, and we also have all this like kid who's like looking for the old priest, but he's not willing to talk to the young priest about what he's looking for. We get a backstory of a choir boy from that church's choir named Dylan, who was killed years ago, and there's some sort of mystery behind it. We have the old priest's daughter who comes in, who's taking care of him, and she seems like a genuinely nice person, and her boyfriend. So following her and her boyfriend, they start getting chased by a killer in white. Well, it turns out it's multiple killers dressed in white, and they think it's Dylan. Like, why are we seeing Dylan? That's where this movie's going. Well, they capture her and her boyfriend, and we get a backstory. Guess what? The priests killed Dylan and probably a whole bunch of other kids. So now the choir kids that were with Dylan are coming back for the revenge. And how they do this? By killing people, ripping out their eyes, and all circling the girlfriend and boyfriend, holding their eyes like this. Ooh. And I think I forgot to mention that the girlfriend is pregnant. We found this out early at the very beginning of this short. And since this movie has no taste whatsoever, the killers stab her belly. Yes, they went there in this movie too. But then the old priest, who's like sitting in a wheelchair or something, just decides, okay, he's had enough, and gets up and kills the kids and rips out all their tongues. So one group is ripping out eyeballs, one group is ripping out tongues. Pregnant lady just lost her baby, and after all of it's all said and done, he just sits down and starts playing the piano. Great story, guys. Once again, probably the second best out of the 4, still not good. Then we go back to Santa telling these stories to Peter, and we find out Santa's wife left him, and he's been on a murder spree, killing at least 28 people, including other kids that he was telling stories to. So once again, right back into the kid violence. So Peter escapes his room, Santa starts chasing him, and then we start going through like the graveyard by the church, and we see things that are from all the stories, so they're trying to connect everything, which would be clever if it wasn't such a terrible movie. Then Peter ends up killing Santa, but then we shoot to the future when Peter's older and he's talking about killing bullies, so we get him in the white shirt and the reindeer mask that the ventriloquist was wearing, and as he kills the bullies that picked on him. And that's how the movie ends. Thank God this movie is over. It's terrible. I really hated every second of this POS movie. Seriously, no one watched this movie.
I hated this movie. Hated this movie.
I usually try to defend low-budget horror movies as much as I can, because I know people try really hard. They're putting their heart and their soul in here. They just don't have a budget. But usually that's okay, and I'm not too hard on them because they're trying. This is not one of those cases. Such bad taste, such low quality, there's nothing defensible about this movie. The acting is bad. The makeup is bad. It's shot bad. The script is bad. It's such bad taste. And it doesn't deserve anyone's respect. This movie is by far the worst Christmas horror movie I watched last year or this year. Maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's definitely up there on my top 10 list now, for sure. And I will never rewatch it again. It gets a 0 out of 5 from me, and if I could go negative, I would. But I'm not going negative because that destroys the whole entire structure and integrity of my rating system, if you want to call it that. but 0 out of 5, and I recommend everyone just stay away from this movie. Thanks for watching day 7 of 12 Days of Christmas Horrors. Make sure to join us for day 8 when we get a very hairy Santa when the moon is full on Christmas. Thanks for watching.